is the divine service. Now, if we examine Christian liturgy, we discover that it is made essentially by formulas and chants of glorification, or as they are technically named in theology, by doxologies. And doxa means glory, so these are called doxologies. Thus, for instance, probably we are not familiar with the Christian Mass, but anyway, the Mass, the Christian Mass, is just a succession of doxologies and acclamation, such as blessed be his name, glory to God forever and ever, gloria Dei in saecula saeculorum, alleluia, praise be to God, sanctus, sanctus, cantus, sanctus, Kyrie eleison, holy, holy, holy. Just the Mass, if you see what is done, how it's done, is just a series of doxologies and acclamations, as they are called. Quite surprisingly, these acclamations or doxology are exactly the same as those found in the ceremonies of Roman emperors and in the rituals of Byzantine court liturgy. This relationship between the profane and the ecclesiastical ceremonial is so tight that historians are puzzled when they have to distinguish the one from the other. There are big problems. This formula is profane, it comes from the emperor or from the church. For instance, you know the Mass ends with the formula ite missa est, go, the Mass is finished. This was the formula who ended when the emperor received people. Then at the end he said ite missa est. So, for instance, Ernst Kantorowicz, the great historian, in his 1946 book Laudes Rege, reconstructs the history of a liturgical acclamation, which has the four Christus vincit, Christus regnat, Christus imperat, Christ wins, Christ reigns, Christ commands. Now, not only this acclamation is from the beginning a feature of both profane and religious ceremonies, but in the 20th century it also plays an important role in the fascist power rituals. Pope Pius XI and Benito Mussolini, the fascist duce, came to power in the same year, 1922. In order to respond to the new political fascist challenge, the Pope introduced the feast of Christus Rex, Christ the King, which included and revived this old acclamation, Christ wins, Christ reigns. Only a few years later, this acclamation was picked up by the fascist militia in the Spanish Civil War and then included in fascist public ceremonies, adding the name of Benito Mussolini. Thus, I decided to focus my investigations on the political meaning of acclamations. My question was, why does power need glory? If power is essentially economy, that is to say, force and ability to govern, why has it to take the stiff, cumbersome, and the glorious form of ceremonies, protocols, liturgies? The more easy sociological answer, yes, of course, is done for instrumental reason. But it is no. If we are on this level, the link is much more deep. So, in the attempt to answer these questions, I came upon two books which provided me with a decisive orientation. I refer to the unfinished dissertation on prayer by the great French anthropologist Marcel Mauss, published in 1968, and the Verfassungslehre, literally the doctrine of constitution or public law, by the German jurist Carl Schmitt, who in the 30s, as you know, compromised with the Nazi regime. Marcel Mauss, for the first book, defines prayer, which of course includes doxologies. Doxology is a form of prayer. A prayer is a form of doxology. So Mauss defines prayer as an oral rite. As such, it is a powerful and effective act whose aim is to affect and influence the holy beings, the gods. Mauss had been guided in his investigation by a book by the great French Indologist Sylvain Lévy, the 1899 book, The Doctrine of Sacrifice in the Brahmanas. Sylvain Lévy shows that according to Vedic theologians, this time no more Christian, Vedic theologians, the sacrifice not only acts upon the gods, but even creates them. Sacrifice, Lévy writes, I quote, is not only the author of the gods, it is itself a god, the god par excellence, who always dies and always returns to life. And another great French sociologist, Émile Durkheim, had written in his classic work on elementary forms of religious life, I quote, "Man cannot live without gods, but it is no less true that gods would die if they did not receive their cult. Cult has not only the function to connect the profane and the sacred, it also keeps gods alive. It unceasingly regenerates and revives them."